Guys, I'm really happy to welcome to the podcast my friend Alex McFarland. He runs Alex McFarland Ministries. He's a youth religion and culture expert. He's author of more than 20 books. He's heard live daily on the 200 plus stations of the American Family Radio Network. He's also director of Worldview for Charis Bible College in Colorado and co-hosts the Truth and Liberty TV broadcast. Alex, welcome. Good to see you. Gosh, you and I met now, it seems like a decade ago or so, when we were both, I was doing apologetics. You invited me to speak in North Carolina. I think that was the first time we got acquainted, was it not?
It probably was. And let me say, my respect for you was strong then. Over the years, it's only grown. And I really, no flattery here, my friend, but you are one of those intellects and voices that I'm so profoundly grateful for. It's always a privilege to visit with you, Dinesh.
Alex, that means a lot. Thank you for saying that. By the way, Alex's website is Alex McFarland, McFarland, alexmcfarland.com. Alex, I thought I'd like to focus on a topic that you've been thinking and writing about, which is the compatibility of Islam with the West, and perhaps specifically with the U.S. Constitution. So let me begin by asking, as a guy who's been talking about Christian worldview, Christian apologetics, how did you develop this interest in Islam?
Well, it is very interesting, Dinesh. My interest in Islam predates 9/11. Let me just say that. I think so much of Americans and the West became familiar with Islam in the aftermath of 9/11. And I, as a minister and going to seminary and graduate school, I'm learning world religions. And I did really in the late 90s kind of a deep dive into what Islam is and Islam's origins. And a lot of people don't realize that Islam, in the early years of the life of Muhammad, he had a lot of animus and really anger against what he perceived to be Christianity. He was in an orphanage, in fact, an orphanage in part of his young life, and he may have actually had epilepsy. Even some Muslim historians say that. Suffice it to say, Muhammad was a labor-intensive orphan, and he was put out. And interestingly, this is worth laying some groundwork, early in Christianity, there was a group called Nestorians. They were under a guy named Nestorius. And Nestorius denied the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So the young Muhammad, after he left an orphanage at about age 15, went to live with an uncle. I'm probably, with my southern accent, probably going to butcher the pronunciation of this, but Muhammad went to live with a man named Waraka ibn Nofal. And again, my apologies if I mispronounced that, but Waraka ibn Nofal was a Nestorian, a vehement denier of the Trinity and the deity of Christ. And so my point is, one of the core doctrines of Islamic theology is the oneness of God and the denial of the fact of Jesus Christ being deity. Now, I studied this in depth, Dinesh, because I wanted to know, as I traveled the world, how to dialogue with Muslims. When 9/11 happened, there was a book that really I recommended many people read by Samuel Huntington called The Clash of Civilizations. Do you recall that book, Dinesh?
Yeah, of course. I remember it well. I think the two books that most influenced me around that time were Bernard Lewis's What Went Wrong, which is built on a whole lifetime of his work with Islam, and the other was Huntington's Clash of Civilizations, a widely discussed book, which did talk about the fact that there were many civilizations coming into conflict, but the highlight, the focus, was on Islam and the West.
It really was. And Huntington, who was a 50-year professor at Harvard and was participating in the Carter administration, brilliant academic. And I think he's worth citing for a couple of reasons. One, his work was, in my opinion, meticulous. The other thing is, he's not some right-wing evangelical. He couldn't be accused of being an ideologue, really. And Huntington said that Westerners are very naive to believe that, devout Muslims will really assimilate into Western culture. And I know during the Obama years, we were constantly told, and unsuspecting Americans probably did not realize they were being misled. But Obama constantly talked about how Islam had been a part of America from the beginning, and that so much of the great things about tolerance and diversity and accomplishment were due to Islam. And that is just simply not the case. And Dinesh, just let me, as a caveat, let me say what I'm saying is not of any ill will or attitude. I'm just trying to help people understand that our Judeo-Christian representative republic is not compatible with Sharia, which is what the hard shell devout Muslims want for the world, not just for Europe and America, but the world. Now, can Muslims migrate here? Of course. Can they be citizens? Do they make good neighbors? Very often, yes and yes. But those of us that value our freedom and our nation, we must not ever allow the U.S. Constitution or local laws to be abrogated by Islamic doctrine or Islamic judicial protocols. And I'm saying this, and I realize some might think that I'm some hateful white guy, but fundamental devout Islam is not compatible with our representative republic, and we cannot let it creep further and further into a force of influence.
I'll be right back with Alex McFarland, the website alexmcfarland.com. Debbie and I made a New Year's resolution to lose weight, and we have. Thankfully, PhD weight loss came to our rescue. Debbie's lost 24 pounds. I've lost 27. We're keeping it off. We're both on maintenance. The program is based on science and nutrition. No injections, no pills, no long hours in the gym, no severe calorie restriction, just good, sound, scientifically proven nutrition. It's so simple. They make it easy by providing 80% of your food at no additional cost. They tell you when and what to eat. And guess what? You can do this without ever being hungry. The founder, Dr. Ashley Lucas, has her PhD in chronic disease and sports nutrition. She's also a registered dietitian. She helps people lose weight and, most important, maintain that weight loss for life. So if you're ready to take the step of losing weight, like Debbie and I have, called PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition at 864-644-1900. You can also find them online at myphdweightloss.com. The number again to call, 864-644-1900.